like neck and neck there, so this should be pretty good. All right, here we go.
2 pharaohs.
Yeah, 2 pharaohs. We've been seeing a lot more Bright action lately, especially after Bako took world record with Bright. I think a lot of people are like, huh, maybe I should take this route a little more consistent. But I mean, both are viable. It's only about a 6-second difference. I think for a lot of high-level runners, it really comes down to what they enjoy the most and what they feel is best for them. But yeah, so here, MrCab.
Ooh,
here we go.
Extra safe.
Yeah, not a bad idea at all. It's pretty unfortunate to miss the balloon here, which we're seeing Bryon and Cab coming up on here. So one of the reasons you do Pharaoh first actually is for the time saves you get in the second stage. You get the balloon here and you get the Pharaoh weapon, both of which you use in the next stage to mitigate some RNG with the crickets, the grasshoppers, and to fight Bright Man with a fight that's faster than Buster, which we'll see. But yeah, so I mean, they're both solid routes, pretty fun. I'm curious to see what kind of balloon action we'll get out of either of them, or if we will. They might opt to do Pharaoh instead.
Yeah, it's definitely dangerous, but it does save you some time.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get a consistent, one of the hardships I think too is getting the first 2 screens, and I think that for me personally, I get really picky over the first 2 screens. Because if you have a really bad first couple screens, you're losing a lot of the time saves you'd be getting anyway. You might as well have used Flash Stopper in those first 2 screens to save the time versus just losing a ton of time. Alright, so coming up on Pharaoh here. Pharaoh does 6 damage on contact. Contact damage is huge in this game. He's actually the only one that does less. All the rest of them do 8. He can either stand in place and shoot a giant charge shot like that, or he can jump around all crazy, or he'll jump to your location. Yeah.
Killed by Bryon. Right. Both for the kill.
Yeah, pretty even so far. Neither of them going for the screen skip. MrCab getting the skip. You can see it saves some good time.
Yeah.
Lots of familiar faces in the chat. Hello and welcome everybody. I'll channel the good luck to the runners. And here we go, already an interesting deviation by Bryon, and unsurprising if you've been following Bryon. Bryon likes to do things a little different. If I remember correctly, Bryon in learning games likes to examine the world records leading up to the most current one and trying those strats and doing those strats and kind of just molding their own. So Bryon has like an interesting eclectic gathering of different strats that he employs. So it's kind of interesting to see Ring second here.
I want to say from what I've seen, his route will they probably won't diverge back until Toad stage toward the end of the 8 robots.
Yeah, that's definitely different. You typically, if you're going to see a little different, it's in the first 4, I believe, usually, like going into Dust, and then generally the same. So if it's really different all the way up till the end, we'll have to. It'll be cool to see them all, see it line up coming out of.
You can see Bryon's screen. You hit the hippo a certain way, and you can jump over him instead of killing him.
Yeah, these skips are like the ring stage in general just has so many mini bosses, right? So I mean, you have to.
Yeah.
Ooh, a little scary. So, it's fortunate you can skip those hippos and quick kill one of the ring guys and skip the other one. So, but yeah, it's a tightly routed stage, much like Cossack 2, which we'll see later. Both your ammo and health have to be used very, very carefully, and just a couple mistakes, you have to change your strats to make up for it.
Yeah, he has a little bit more health than you normally would, so it's a little safe. You can take like 1 ring hit.
Yeah, it's always nice when you get to Ring Man with a little extra health. There's actually a strat you can do if you have enough health to bonk him going off to the right side of him. Ooh, MrCab, scary!
Ooh, okay, they both make it.
Yeah, solid so far. Both making it out of their respective stages around pretty close to the same amount of time. Yeah, about 3 seconds difference, I want to say. It was like a 4:59 and a 5:02.
I guess this means in Dust he's going to be using Pharaoh. So you won't have Bright to slow the screen down.
Bryon actually opting to do Buster in the first screen.
Alright, taking it safe.
All right, as it's mentioned there, the stages do have different lengths too. So sometimes it might look like they're split up a little bit, but then kind of come together at certain points. You can see that even in the first 2 stages for their completion time. Yeah, interesting to see Bryon just taking Buster through pressures and doing all this here. It's actually a pretty consistent way to get through. Until I figured out Ring and kind of got that in my thumbs, I did Buster, and it's just a pretty consistent way to get through it with Buster as well, and that's pretty.
Yeah, until you get comfortable with that trick, it's pretty difficult.
I would say Dust in general is just one of the scariest stages in the game. It's just like any mistake can just immediately kill you. Whereas like in stages like Wily 1 or Skull, it's more like your mistakes just add up. Like there's a lot of places to make mistakes, but not a lot of places to die. I feel like except towards the end.
3 sucks by Dust.
Yeah, unfortunately Dust will just start sucking. The only way to stop him is to hit him with your body. If he decides, like he can just do it for as long as he'd like. A lot of the bosses are affected by proximity, so if you stand close to Dust, there's a good chance, you know. Well, I don't know about good, but there's a better chance that he won't start sucking in if you're close to him. It wastes about 4 seconds every time he does it.
We'll see how MrCab navigates the first 2 screens with his run now that he has Pharaoh and Bright.
Yes, so if you just joined us, they're doing 2 different routes, so it may look like they're pretty far apart, but they're actually relatively close in terms of where they're at. So this is already turning out to be a pretty cool race, and it's really cool to see as well the differences in strats and how it lines up, because you normally see, especially at like really high levels of play, people do very similar things. So it's cool to see, you know, this level of skill even where you get to see these different routes, because they're both, you know, good at the game, they have good times, so it's cool to see a high level of play with the divergence in strats like this.
I think where MrCab used Bright, it's just a tad slower, but it's so much easier to manage.
Yeah, if I understand right, I think Bright might be faster in the first screen of Dust, but then is slower in the second screen. Like Pharaoh ends up being much faster.
Yeah, you don't see the Dust on the final screen in Skull very often.
Alright, so Skullman is another fight that should be relatively the same every time. Except for his Skull Shield, which he can either drop right away or leave up till about a little over 4 seconds, I believe.
It's a very long shield.
Ooh, nice little slide under the Skull jump there. All right, so I was trying to kind of gauge between their teleport times, but it's difficult to tell. I see Bryon might be using Jet in Bright Stage, which is, if Bryon's using Jet over the Grasshoppers, that sounds extremely laggy. So we'll see how that plays out, if that's where I'm thinking it's going to be used. So we'll see what he decides.
Yeah, if you see in the first water stage of the game, you cannot jump out of a slide in Mega Man 4. So you might have seen in the first screen, ooh, he skips the whale. With the balloon, wow.
Yeah.
But you can see some slide cancels every now and then to kind of stop your movement and jump.
Oh, looks like we have a little bit of a timer issue on Bryon's side, but that's all right. I'll keep an eye on their completion time, depending on where they're at versus MrCab, and hopefully we'll get something somewhat. Oh, it's the cropping. Oh, okay, got it. I was worried for a second. I was like, uh-oh, did the timer reboot? But that's actually easier to fix. So.
So Dive Man is another boss where there's really no RNG involved. You're just kind of doing the same thing every time, and it'll always work out the same.
Man, this is still such a close race. I mean, they're both playing, consistent, pretty solid. No major, like, oh no, crazy hiccups going on here.
Yeah, it's a pretty good race. I want to say their times in the heat were less than 30 seconds apart, so... I'm pretty interested to see what he's going to do in Drill without Bright.
Yeah, it definitely is a very bold choice, especially like in a competitive setting, to completely forgo Flash Stopper till the very end. It's pretty wild. But I can't say that I'm surprised. I mean, I kind of expected this. I'm a little surprised. I expected not this much deviation, but I don't know, pretty cool, pretty fun to see.
Yeah, it's cool to see something different.
Yeah, I wonder what they're gonna do for the last room. I like to use Skull there when I'm not using Bright. I feel like it's very easy. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, they're okay. It might be a tiny bit laggier, but it looks pretty safe.
Yeah, Skull's pretty reliable. It feels easy to do as well, because you can just immediately, as soon as the shield eats, an enemy or a rock, you can just go for it. MrCab, pretty low health here going into the Dive Man, so he's got to play a solid fight.
Let's see how many dives Drill's going to give Bryon.
Already.
Ooh, already one. So that's what, 4.3 seconds per dive you're going to lose.
Yeah,
Ooh.
wow. Already. MrCab making it out. Very good, very good. Pretty scary on the health there, and it can go wrong if you're not careful, so both of them making it out very good. But yeah, I mean, just that bad RNG from Drill already just, change. I think it just flipped, didn't it? I think MrCab.
Wow, this is...
I mean, the route is different. Like, I mean, you know, but it's still just so close.
Yeah, it seems like every stage they've been at the boss at the exact same time.
So it looks like Bryan's going for Bright here, so they'll probably be using it in Toad, I would imagine.
Right, yeah, I'd be curious to see if there's even a way to get through that first screen without it.
I like MrCab's strats here in Drill, too. He takes out a lot of the enemies. It's pretty cool. And here's the Rush Jet. Huh, that's cool. I see.
Yeah, grasshopper orangey there. We'll see how this last room goes for MrCab with Bright.
Yeah, this is a fun
really
room
scary.
to do. Yeah, it's scary. Yeah, it is. It's one of those that's really scary if something goes wrong, I feel like, but it's very satisfying if you're able to extend that slide. Not sure if we mentioned yet, but the flash stopper, when you're sliding, the timer for it to end doesn't go down. I think normally they give you 5 seconds, but yeah, it's a very powerful weapon in this game. Yeah, and then we have some vets in chat keeping us up to date on the speed here. It's about
2 drills, no dives.
all right, cool, got him. Yeah, that's not quite. Drill didn't give him as hard of a time as he gave Bryon, but decent. Ooh, getting it free is a good thing he has good health.
Alright, I guess we'll see them diverge now, since Toad's the last stage.
Yeah, let's go. I don't know, though. Toad is pretty much the great equalizer. For those of you not familiar with this game, he's infamous for being one of the hardest bosses of all of classic Mega, even maybe like just platformers and Nintendo platformers in general. Very risky, very dicey fight, so we'll see what happens for the runners.
Yeah, somehow it's like the easiest and the hardest stage.
Yeah, you know, it's fun. I think the stage itself, the movement's really fun. I like any stage where I get to use Flash Chopper and Balloon, to be honest. They're both pretty satisfying. So yeah, people often do Toad first, which is just interesting considering both his stage and the boss fight is insane. Ooh, good save by MrCab. Didn't have the ammo to take the refreak.
I feel like Ryan's closed the gap.
Yeah, for sure. Just sneaking right up on MrCab. And here we go. Let's see what happens here. Oh man, wow. Close. We'll see if Bryon gets the same luck. And he makes it too. Wow, very nice, very nice. For those of you that don't know, Toad is famous for being the easiest. He's programmed to basically jump when you shoot, and so a lot of people will do Toad first because he's just so easy to you can just literally mash the B button and win. Yeah, so they're out of 8 robos now. Pretty close still. They've both been playing a pretty solid game, so we'll see what the Castles has in store for it.
Yeah, this is the I've heard you say before this is the game with the a different antagonist in Mega Man 4.
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool. They decided to go with a different boss, which is really good because I think it would have set a pretty bad precedent if they just used Wily for every boss. So, pretty exciting. We get Dr. Cossack. All his toys are toys. Wow, all his robots are cool to me because they look like toys. That's where I was going with that. To me, and he uses the catcher. We fight him, so I think maybe before he was a scientist, he was a toy guy. I don't know.
Right.
Cab going through a pretty scary screen here, ice physics, so you have to be pretty careful. If you have solid movement, you don't really notice too much, but if you have some mistakes going on, really easy to die in those pits to get some bad movement. Cab doing the despawn, pretty cool. Jumping back and getting rid of the skeleton drone.
Bryan's going with Bright Stopper to make this screen a lot easier.
MrCab, very nice. Getting through that balloon room. It's very spooky, very spooky. So MrCab using the dive ring here after you watch Bryon use the Bright Stopper. Little bit people. This game actually introduced the slide. Did you? I'm just kidding. No, but all jokes aside, this weapon actually, the ring, it looks big, but it has a 1 pixel hitbox combined with the little tiny box that the moth has. When you're learning this fight, I think it's very easy to think you hit, but and here we have Cossack 2. Very tight stage. Every D-boost, every piece of ammo is very planned, very specific. And deviating too much is a lot of improv. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, typically, you'd be going to the boss in this stage with pretty low health, so we'll see how they decide to do to manage that. You're hitting a lot of enemies.
Yes, this is a best of 1. When we get to the final 8, I believe we'll be doing best. Very nice, MrCab switching to dust and heading into Square Machine. Do you want to tell us about why Square Machine is so awesome?
The Square Machine is a great boss that you really like in your runs. He can give you basically 3 different patterns each time. A fast pattern, which means it's usually the slowest. You have 3 passes. Like this is the slowest pattern. You see 1, 2, and then a 3rd slow pass will come by and you lose. I don't know, like 6 seconds each 3 pass, I think.
Did Bryon? I wasn't watching. Did Bryon get a 2 just now?
I did not see. 1.
Got a 1. Oh,
wow.
See, this is a good example of how this boss fight can just really shake it.
Cab gets a 3-3 and Bryon gets a 1-3. So that's some time gained.
And just like that, look at that.
Wow.
Is that like a 5-second difference now?
Yeah, it's like 5 or 6 seconds. It's getting tight.
Yeah, this is a solid race.
Now for a really hard stage.
Yeah, this is it's so easy to mess up if you're not like paying lots of attention. I feel like that's my struggle. Is it's kind of like it's like, all right, calm down, focus. Don't forget to don't forget one of those little platform guys is there. Knock you down.
Right.
Not much you can do to make it go faster other than maybe controlling some movement, keeping ammo off screen, keeping bullets off screen. So for instance, MrCab right there, kind of waiting a little bit for the little red guys to get off screen to save a little bit of lag. Yeah, this stage is very nice though in marathons, charity marathons for donations. It's just a nice little.
Yeah, I always like it. I mean, you can easily die if you're not careful, but I generally like it as it's like a kind of a relaxer before the end.
Yeah, it definitely has that kind of like a breather feeling after Cossack 1 and 2, because it's definitely a lot less demanding. Things can go wrong in Cockroach Twins fight, but hopefully we won't see that. That's normally a pretty consistent fight. It should go the same every time if everything lines up, except for what one of the Cockroach Twins, when it shoots at you. Some business you can do here as well, with lag, getting those platforms off screen, taking out those.
Oh, it is tight.
Yeah, this is wild. What a race. Interesting. Different fights. MrCab doing the one that we see often and doing it pretty good, pretty well. Ooh, looks like Bryon accidentally hit him with a small orb, but recovered nicely. He's getting. All right, heading into our final stage, Cossack 4, where we're going to be fighting Dr. Cossack himself, the big old troublemaker for this.
Yeah, this is a safe thing to do to fill your Pharaoh because you will not. You might need that later on.
Yeah, typically you'll get to a capsule with really low Pharaoh ammo, so you just, it's pretty scary. In a setting like this, it's definitely wise to ensure that you have the ammo you need, because if you run out of ammo and you don't have enough time to make the backup work between you and your opponent, it's basically just completely over. Yeah, Wiley's not in this game. It's Dr. Cossack. He's the boss. I'm talking about the patch. That's the DLC. It's the Mega Man 4 DLC where you get to fight what? Alright, so Catcher is another one of those things in this game that's affected in strange ways by sliding. When you're sliding, he can't move horizontally, so if you time your slides right, you can control his movement and make it a much safer fight. Ooh, come on, MrCab.
See, Bryan's going with the dust strap, which is, I think it's more of a weakness for him than...
Yeah, wow, look at this. So close. What a match. Oh, and what? Doctor, what? No. Come on. Wow. Just unbelievable.
My mind has been blown.
The best kept secret from 1991. This match is so close. Alright, here we go. The Wily stages. This next stage is pretty cool. It's all Mets, and you'll never guess who the boss is.
I feel like this is Mr. Cab's favorite stage.
Shoutouts to my grandmother for buying the DLC so we could enjoy it. And this is a pretty fun stage. I feel like anyway. When it goes right, it's really smooth, especially this screen MrCab's going into. I feel like it's like you're holding right almost the whole time when it's going smooth, and so it's pretty.
There's a lot of precise shots and movement to get kind of the fastest stretch through the stage.
Rush Marine, let's go. Also, a little known fact, these blocks are called Yoku blocks. They're actually called Kozu blocks. Do you know why that is?
I do not.
Because you always falling off of them. Gotcha. I think I've told that joke every time I've done commentary. It's bad. I'm sure everyone in chat is like, oh my god. Like, again?
Oh boy.
Alright, now we're heading into Met Daddy. He's pretty scary boss, a little RNG with him too, depending on when he decides to open, he can delay that, and how long he stays open is also...
I love the reaction.
Yeah. Bryon having a little bit of menu trouble, but that's okay. And MrCab having a nice solid fight, getting out of there pretty quick.
Alright.
Ooh, didn't get that last hit. I'm sorry, because you abuse this joke every time. Oh, very nice. The evolution. Alright, so this is Wily 2. I actually like this stage. I like all the purple. It's fun to use Rush Jet for some cool strats. Rush Jet is not as cool as he is in Mega Man 3, unfortunately, but still pretty useful, and I like him. He's very concerned for your well-being. If you take any damage, he's there for you immediately.
Yeah, it makes this stage unique that you pretty much hold it to the last screen of the stage.
Yeah, it's mandatory for, I believe, like 2 parts in the stage. So, I mean, you know, instead of menuing, it's just faster to stay on Rush Jet. You'll see them summoning Rush Jet, even though they're not using him, because in order to fire Buster, Rush Jet has to be on screen. And I wonder what we'll see with Taco Trash as well. There's a couple different things you can... Well, I think literally 2, so yeah, a couple.
A couple, yeah.
Seeing Toad, so MrCab's gonna go in with Toad and fire a Toad bullet, which is gonna skip the life fill of Taco Trash. And then we'll see if he's gonna go to Ring or go to...
Yeah, he goes
for Drill. Hitting him with Drill disables his hitbox, so you're able to just kind of sneak in there and take him out from behind. See, Bryon not even going for Toad, which is very interesting. Just going for a straight ring fight. Really, really risky.
Ooh, that's pretty good though.
Yeah, not too bad. So, they're really close. These refights could just make all the difference. We see all 8 Robot Masters, and they can do all the same stuff they did before. So, this is still definitely not over till it... I like this track too. It's a very good, determined song.
Let's see how Pharaoh treats MrCab.
Gonna go in with Dust, which is nice because Dust makes quick work of Pharaoh, and then you can immediately go into Skull, and you know you don't have to. You save time over Buster, and then you go into Dive, and you get to keep Skull going into Bright. So it's pretty clever routing for the.
Jump across this. Oh, 3 jumps. Safe call, getting the help. Yeah, Bryon,
Alright.
start with Skull.
Getting out of there, and so Bryon just all kinds of different crazy strats.
Fun fact: if you use just Rain Flush only, you always hit Brightman's kind of targeted times of health to freeze the screen.
So you use an odd number of Skull hits on Bright there, and it sets his health values up so he won't freeze. He only freezes at 16, 8, and 4. I'm not sure if we mentioned that back in the beginning. But very nice for people who don't speedrun this game. It's very nice to know if you do like Toad first and then you go to Bright, just shoot him with 1 lemon before you switch to Toad, and that'll set the health values up so you don't get frozen.
Bryon's gonna fight Pharaoh with Buster.
Not too bad.
Dead.
Comes Toad Man. Dust is pretty problematic. Ring isn't too bad, but Dust can definitely shake things up whenever he sucks if you can't deboost. And you know, health is a concern at the end of the game, so you kind of have to decide what you want.
Let's hope Dustman's nice. And he's very nice.
Yeah, very, very good.
Now we're going into Wily Machine and everybody's favorite sound.
Like, kind of like it.
Looks like Bryon got 1 suck in his fight. You know, you gotta kill, to hit Wily Machine in this phase, you have to blow the drill up before it hits the little thing on the front of his ship.
MrCab heading out with 38.46. Toadman could not be overweight Snake Man because they have a canon rivalry, actually. They're, because you know Toads and Snakes in Japan, so they have kind of like a grudge against each other. And Dentist would use the ring. It has that 1 pixel. It's probably a very precise tool.
Alright, here we go into Wily Machine, the final boss. We'll see what kind of pattern he gives MrCab.
It's kind of like Whack-A-Mole. He appears in a bunch of fixed places, and you just have to react as soon as he appears. If you're fast, you can get double hits with the Pharaoh weapon, is the way it works.
And there's a double.
Very nice.
And there he goes.
That's it. Looks like 39.47. Let me check the SR. Yeah, and that looks like a 39.55 for MrCab. Very nice.
Ooh, another double for Bryon. And GG.
GG Bryon. And Bryon in second with a 40.12. Very close race.
Wow,
Very, very good.
that was an excellent race.
Yeah, definitely. Very, very good. Very close. Pretty much the whole time. They both played very well. I don't think, did either of them die?
I don't think either of them died.
No, it was just nice, clean runs all around. Very cool. All right, guys. Well, that's pretty much it for us. GG, MrCab. Let me go ahead and I'll tell you what we got coming up next. 1 second. All right. So it looks like our next race is actually going to be for Cossack Cup. Going to be Riley's race against Von Rufio tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. EDT. How are you feeling about that, Riley?
I felt pretty good until Von Rufio got 2 PBs this morning and tried to put on the pressure.
Cool. Well, that's good. You need the heat. It's going to be just a great race. You're a great player. Von Rufio's been getting a lot stronger, so I'm excited to see it. It's easy for me to say that because I'm not racing you. so, but so, like, yeah, go out there, man. You do the thing.
Right.
But yeah,
It
that'll
should
be
fun.
great. For Kalinka Cup, it looks like tonight at 10 p.m. EDT, which is in about an hour and 20 minutes, we have Mr. Otter and Conster racing for Kalinka Cup, and that's on SpeedGaming 3. And then the day after, on the 17th at 1 p.m. EDT, we have Wader and Chrissy. If you hit !MM4, you should be able to see that. But that's pretty much it. The tournament's been fantastic so far. Some really good matches, very exciting. I'll have some information on prizes and how you can contribute to the pot as well soon. There's some cool stuff on the way, so look forward to that. And that's it for me. Thanks for being here, Riley.
Thank you, and thanks for all the hard work you've done putting all this together.
Oh yeah, it's my pleasure. It's way fun. It's been super exciting to see all the stuff that's been going down. Alrighty, I'll see you guys. Have a good night.
Bye, everybody.